Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank y'all for coming out. Welcome to the July 18th meeting. Uh, at this time, we're going to call the meeting to order. I'd like to ask our newest commissioner, Mr. Jason Osborne, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Joe, would you like to lead us in a prayer this morning?
Yeah, I would. And before we get started, before we go to the prayer, we need to think about a lot of things. We had a 4th of July weekend that come out with very few casualties or anything else happening during that time, which is very good. The Marine Patrol had did a fantastic job out there, and we want to thank everybody for being conscious and being safe on the waters and what they did, because there've been a lot of weekends that we've had some things happen, and but when you have that many boats out, and it was a beautiful weekend, and when you have that many boats out and that many people, and the good Lord lets us get by with actually in the Gulf none. We had no accidents or anything to amount to anything. We had no casualties, so you got to be thankful for Him for that. So let's go to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to serve you. Lord, we just ask you to take each and every one of us and these commissioners and give them wisdom and the knowledge to do it your way, Lord, and do the things you'd have them to do to run this agency. We ask this in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you, Joe. All right. Finally, we get to do this again. We're going to have our oath for our new commissioner, Jason Osborne.
Thanks. Go down to her. For you. All right, CP.
Thank you for joining us, Jason. We're happy to have you on board. You got anything you'd like to say?
I'd just like to thank the governor for giving me this opportunity, and Director Spraggins and the rest of the commissioners. I look forward to working with y'all.
We look forward to it as well.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank him. Thank you very much for taking the opportunity, because I know each and every one of our commissioners take a lot of time out of their own busy schedules, just to be a part of this. And the pay is so outrageous. I know that's why you're doing it. But but we appreciate people that take the time to do it. You know, I have done a little research with Jason and to see what his life is about. And I tell you what, he comes from a little bit further north than I-10, and he was born in Alaska, and spent some time there, and worked on a boat in boats in Alaska as far as commercial fishing and doing halibut fishing, and did a lot of work. And you got to think about that. You know, he's bringing some knowledge to us that a lot of us have never had the opportunity to be able to look at. He worked with a senator out of Alaska named Stevens. Senator Stevens is one of the Magnuson-Stevenson Act, as we all know, that really directs a lot of things that goes on with our fisheries and what we do. Well, he didn't write it, but he did do a lot of the amendments and work on a lot of the amendments of it. And you know, I told him yesterday, I said, you just don't know how much I'm going to milk your brain as much as I can to be able to find out a lot of things that's going on with the Magnuson-Stevenson Act and what it does to us as far as our fisheries. So we have a wealth of knowledge coming to us with that. He been living, was, you know, Louisiana resident, and went to school there, and then for some reason went to that godforsaken Alabama. And you know, went over there, but you know, we can't say too much about that. He's pretty good, but went to University of Alabama. But he has also did a lot of research all over the country, and he travels daily doing stuff for us. And we just don't realize what kind of asset we're getting here with Mr. Osborne being with us. And we appreciate you. We thank you very much. I think the governor was very smart by appointing you. And we look forward to milking that brain some every now and then whenever you're at home and you get a chance, and being able to look at some things that you can help us with, and not just in the Magnuson-Stevenson Act, but in your wealth of knowledge of what you've done over the years. So we appreciate you.
Thank you.
All righty. Do we have any discussion on the minutes from June 20th? Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from June 20th?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, before we do the agenda here, we're gonna have to make some changes to the agenda for today. We're gonna be removing G1A. And under A4, we're gonna add election of officers. Do we have a motion to approve the changes to the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the changes to the agenda.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So now, do we have a motion to approve the agenda as it's now written?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're gonna back up to A4 now. We need to have our election of officers for the 23-24 year. Every year we elect officers. We start the election with the chairman and then go to vice chair. Do we have any nominations for chairman?
I'll make a motion to nominate Commissioner Daniels for chairman.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any other nominations for chairman? All right, can we have a motion to close the nominations? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Nominations for vice chair. I'd like to nominate Commissioner Roberts as vice chair. I'll make that motion. All right, all in favor? Aye. Do we have any other nominations for vice chair? We have no other nominations. Do we have a motion to close the nominations? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sandy, we don't have to vote on anything since there were only two, right? Okay. Do we have anybody not in favor of the nominations that we just made? Hearing none, moving on. Thank you, guys. We got that out of the way.
It costs a lot of money to run that.
Yeah. All right, we've got our agenda. Mr. Joe, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
All right, well, I appreciate it, and I'm glad to be back. I haven't been in the office for about 3 weeks now. I had a little knee surgery, and I tell you what, the office, I want to thank the staff and everybody for what they've done, because I learned years ago in the military that if you can leave and the office run and the operation run the way it's supposed to, then you've done a pretty good job, and that's the way I feel. It did a great job because the staff did exactly what they were supposed to do, and they ran it without me, and that was great, and probably ran better. So I appreciate y'all doing that. All right, we got a couple of things we need to talk about: employment and contracts. I don't think have. Maybe they're not going to talk about them. I don't think we had any. To be honest with you. And no contracts and no employment, right? All right, agency update. I don't know if you were around 4th of July, but there was a fireball out on Deer Island, and it happened during the middle of the fireworks that night of 4th of July, and they were doing the fireworks went off, and a few of them decided to land on Deer Island, and Jennifer, can you give us just a little bit of update on what happened there? I think it wasn't that bad, but we want to let people know.
That's correct. It was approximately 0.22 acre that burned. It was just west of the Deer Island Pier. Marine Patrol responded, as well as Biloxi Fire Department. Our staff went back out the next day and surveyed the area. There wasn't any significant damage. According to Marine Patrol and Biloxi Fire, there were no injuries. And it was basically just grassy shrub portions of the island right next to the water line. So nothing that we're really concerned about. We're very glad that no one was injured and that there weren't any damages to the private property that was on the island or the state pier.
And it was opened back up the next day, right?
Yes, sir. After staff went to the island and we verified the information that we gathered on site with the Biloxi Fire Department, we reopened the island before the close of business on July 5th.
Okay. Any questions on that? I just want to let you know it was a lot of publicity about the fire, and it looked bad if you looked on TV and saw a picture of it, but it wasn't as bad as we normally burn Deer Island on a regular basis, and it was just took a little bit of it for us, so we didn't have to do it. All right, oyster lease program. You remember we started back in started the session this year that we're going to lease the bottoms, 80% of them, or up to 80% of them, to people to be private industry to do oyster leases. I'm glad to say that today that we will be able to brief you on, and it'll be in the fisheries time of the briefings today, that we'll brief you the whole process of what we're going to do and how people can go out and apply to do this and how we'll be able to move forward. And looks like that everything could go live as early as this Friday. And we went through reports and went through the comment period for 30 days, and then we put it back out, and we have not had any issues. And so everyone seems to be on board. I think this will be a great thing to be able to get private industry to be able to go out and do their on bottom leases and to go along with our off bottom leases. So we'll talk about that when the time comes, and we'll let Jason, he's going to be able to give that briefing for us at that time. If you haven't ever been to Neshoba County Fair, you need to go one time. I didn't understand what it all meant. And I wasn't born and raised in Mississippi, so I didn't understand it, right? But about 5 or 6 years ago, I went to the first one that I'd ever been to. And I tell you what, I won't miss another one if the good Lord will it. And so it's up in a little place called Philadelphia, Mississippi. And it's probably about the hottest place in America in the end of July. And it's going to rain. And it's going to be a little bit of issues there every now and then during it. But you will never have more fun. Now, you're not going to ride a whole bunch of rides. That's not what we're talking about. But there is a lot of great things that happen. And one of the things that happens every year there is they have, especially during election years, they have all the candidates. that come for statewide elections and for national elections to speak. And you actually get a one-on-one with them and sit there and listen to them and talk to them. You can go back and talk to them afterwards. They're there. It's a great deal. So that's happening the end of this month. And we have the luxury of a few years ago, we started a thing there called the Coast Day. So the Mississippi Coast has a day, and it's on the day of when a lot of the elected officials come and speak. And so what we do is we bring vendors there, and we take vendors from across the coast, and we take them up there, and they basically go in and set up tents and everything else, and be able to talk about their operation and what they're doing in Mississippi and South Mississippi. Well, Department of Marine Resources is one of the sponsors there, and we'll have it, and Charmaine and them will be there with the booths, and we'll be giving out things, and they got this little thing called a fan. It's an electric fan, they give out. They'll tell you what, everybody in the world wants one of them because it's hot up here. And so it goes over big, but a lot of things happen, and you'll see a lot of people there. You'll get to meet. So if you, for some reason, if you have any time toward the end of July, I think it's July the 27th, that's when we'll be there for the Coast Day. The night before that, we have a big dinner. It's a cookout, and it's at one of the cabins there, and it's being publicized, and it's called the One Coast, and that's where everybody comes together from the coast of Mississippi and puts together. And we'll be cooking shrimp and oysters and some fish, and then we'll have some oysters on the half shells, and we'll do a lot of things there. But it started out about 3 or 4 years ago with 30 people. We're up to over 600 now that's showing up for that. It is a huge event, and it's a chance for us to sell our seafood. And when I say that, it's one of the biggest things. Just because you don't live on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi, if you live anywhere else in Mississippi, you may not know about it. You may not know how great our seafood is. And so what we do, we trying to get everybody to understand that this is still the best seafood in the world. Fresh caught seafood out of the Gulf of Mexico and Mississippi is some of the best that you will ever eat. And so one of our goals is to sell that, and we do it through Mississippi Seafood Fund. So if you get a chance, come up there. And can you, Commissioner, if you're in town that week, just come up. Any of the other commissioners, please come up. And, we'll have a good time. And especially on that Wednesday night before, there'll be a lot of great food and all going on. And then the next day, there'll be a lot of things happening where you'll get to hear the governors, and also lieutenant governors, and anyone for, I think Secretary of State even, and I'm not sure exactly who all was that day, but it's both days, Wednesday and Thursday. But I know the governor, lieutenant governor, Secretary of State, I think, on that day. So you'll be able to hear them. Any questions? All right, our 2019 Bonnie Carey funds have been received. Finally, we got our 22 million right at it. And so we're working right now to finalize it. And hopefully by the 1st of August, we'll have it to where we can go out and have people being able to put their process together to be able to get funds from like our shrimpers and oystermen and crabbers that have any loss during that time. And we'll also start doing the programs that we need to do to be able to rebuild the industry. So any questions on it?
Joe, what do the fishermen need to be thinking about getting together to be able to apply for that?
Rick, Tracy, why want to come up? I'd rather take it straight from them.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll put out a press release and we'll have an application period. We'll have an online application. They can come in and fill out an application. Just put all their information as far as their license numbers and things. We can look at names and we can look at license numbers and gather all that information, but they'll need to come forward and apply. But we'll make it widely publicized and have probably a 30-day period where people can send us all their information. And once we get all the information from all the applicants, then we'll start processing and seeing where to go from there. But that's typically how we've done it.
So all they're gonna have to do is verify that they had licensing during that time.
Correct.
Okay.
If they could just provide us with their name and their license numbers and everything, then we can verify it and put them in the portal to start the process.
Yeah, we'll have the trip ticket part of it to be able to look at as
We can
far as
verify all that.
what they actually harvested and what they lost and that.
And is that just commercial licensing?
So the way that our spend plan had some money allocated for commercial fisheries losses. We had some money allocated for seafood processors, and there's some grant programs in there. There's funds allocated for charter for hires as well.
Okay.
And then there's several other programs for restoration and seafood marketing, things like that.
Okay. Good deal. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Not, we had a meeting with NOAA's Assistant Secretary of Commerce and Oceans and Atmosphere and the Deputy Administrator, and her name is Janie, and I have no way in the world I'm going to say this right. It's Bavicia, but it's for the record, for you, it's Bavishi. So that way you'll know what it is. But she came and met with us, and a great meeting. Sat down and talked to us. She was here mainly to look at our NEAR education research, and she was looking again because she wanted to see what we were doing on some programs and all. But we had the opportunity to talk to her about other programs too, and it was a great opportunity. She really enjoyed being here. We did not get to go to the NEAR because of a flooding issue during that time, but she's promised to come back because she wants to see it. And she's promised to work with us on several things that we're doing and helping us get grants to be able to continue to move forward. So it was a great idea to have the opportunity to meet with her. And we thank her for taking the time. She was over in Alabama doing some other research stuff and came here to do it. So we appreciate that. Red Snapper, it's closed. We've met our quota. Y'all know that we're cut back this year. And we met our quota of 62,000 pounds, and it's done. Snapper's plentiful. There's more snapper out there than we can catch. I just don't have the allocation to give it to you. Wished I did, because I know it's there. And if you just notice that Louisiana went to 4 fish a day, that tells you how many darn fish are out there. NOAA just will not back off with what they're doing, and we're fighting with them every day. I'm hoping to get something more for the future, but right now we're in a situation to where we have nothing to do that we can do other than that, because we have reached our limit this year. And even though that we have plenty of fish and plenty of big fish to catch, there's not much I can do about it. And I apologize. We fought with NOAA over this, and we're going to continue to fight with them. And if it comes to it, we will do what we have to do, and that was that we will take our own actions and become doing our own MREP studies and do it ourselves and not work under NOAA anymore. That will cost us between $750,000 and $1 million a year to do. But the legislature's been gracious to tell me that they'll work with me to give me the money to do it. So one way or the other, we're going to make it work. So just hang with us, and hopefully we can get something worked out. I'm working with NOAA every day, and Andy at Spellcheck is trying to help me at NOAA, and he's trying to help me do what he can, and let's see where we're at. Any questions on that?
Do we know anything about the potential bump in quota that they had?
Potential bump would be 20,000 pounds, and hopefully it's been approved by the council, and it's going to NOAA, and NOAA has to get it approved by the Secretary of Commerce. And we're trying to get them to get that done between now and like October or some time frame. And if we know that it's at the Secretary of Commerce and know that she's going to be able to do it, we may take a gamble and just say, hey, we open him back up. And, we'll take the gamble with them. But let's see what happens. I don't want to tell you something that I can't. I don't want to put some false information out there. But we're fighting hard to do that. We're working with the other states to do a reallocation. And it's just hard to, when you're less than 4% of the total allocation, which any statistics that I've ever taken in my life, 4% is a variable. And anything less than 4% is really not even accountable. And we're at 3.55%, and they're taking that, and we're taking the brunt of everything. And it's all because of a thing called MREP, and it's where they do a study. And the study for MREP says that we sell 80,000 saltwater fishing licenses a year. And as far as they're concerned, all 80,000 of them fished.
4 snapper.
Huh?
4 snapper.
Yeah. And caught their limit. And they caught it every day. And so it's not right. And then they turn around, and because there's 3 million people in Mississippi, there's a large majority of them that didn't buy a license that they count too. That's what they say, and they went snapper fishing. And they caught our snapper, and then so we're, according to NOAA, we caught several 100,000 pounds over what we should have caught every year. And according to NOAA, we had an average of around 800, 900 boats a day to go out and fish every day of the season. And they know this is wrong. They know it's wrong. They know it 100%. But they will not budge. And, you know, Trevor could probably pull all the hair he's got on his head and off his face and everything else trying to figure it out. But Trevor Moncrief is pushing for us in that, and he does it. He's one of ours that's that goes and fights for us every day for this. But it doesn't work for a small state. It works for a state like Florida. You know, it does good because of the study and everything else, the percentages. But it does not. And they know this, but yet they will not fix it. We've been working with Secretary Raimondo on this. I've worked with Janet Court. She understands it too. They all understand that it's wrong. But the scientists will not budge. And they will not budge off of what they say. And I don't know. It doesn't make sense. You know, I'm not going to violate a law. That's not what my job is, to do something to violate some law. And that's the only option I would have to do that, is to basically just tell them I'm violating the law and not going to pay any attention. And I'm just not going to do that. That's not the way this business needs to be operated. We will get it straightened out. It may take us a year or so, but we're going to get it straightened out. And one way or the other, we're going to get it straightened out. Any other questions? All right. The other thing is, if you got some money sitting in your pocket and you want to be able to donate, and there's a raffle for the Wildlife Foundation, which we're a part of, for the state of Mississippi, and it closes on June the 30th. And I tell you what, there's a big expo going up on July 28th through the 30th in Jackson for the Wildlife Expo. But it's a lot of money there to be given away. The top prize is a $50,000 voucher from Ford to buy anything you want from them. So we go from there to safaris, to big turkey hunts with the greatest turkey hunters in the world, to fishing trips with some of the greatest fishermen in salt, deep sea fishing. There's a lot of things out there. So if you want to, it's you can buy them online. They are at www.mwfp.foundationraffle.com, and you can buy them. And I think you can get 10 tickets for $150, or you can get one for but you can buy whatever you want. And it chance to be able to donate to the Wildlife Foundation, and also a chance to win some big prizes. So if go in there and look at it if you get a chance. I'm getting through here in a minute, sir. All right. The last thing is derelict vessels. 109 derelict vessel cases since last July. 70 have been removed. 39 are pending right now, and 0 left in the courts. Okay. So I think that's all the agency updates, and now the only thing we like is actions update from Sandy.
Okay, at the June meeting, the commission recommended and the director approved the following: a fine to be issued to Doug DeLuca in the amount of $1,500 for work completed without a permit on the Chambers project located at Bayou Circle in Gulfport. This fine is to be paid within 45 days, or the matter will be forwarded to the Attorney General's office for further enforcement. Let's see. The proposed changes to Title 22, Part 1 for the oysters that conform to the requirements of Senate Bill 2544 be forwarded to the Secretary of State's office for final adoption. That was done, and that should be finalized very soon. They had several state saltwater finfish records. They were all youth conventional tackle for cownose ray, for rhodey arms, Atlantic needlefish for rhodey arms, and gray triggerfish for Thomas Brown. And that is it.
Question?
Sir.
All right, sir. That's all I have. And as far as I know,
There's a lot of information packed in there. Did any of our commissioners have anything to report today? All right. Moving on, Marine Patrol, Chief.
Good morning. Good to see all of y'all. Director, good to see you back. See you mobile. Be running marathons before it's over with.
I don't know about that.
Welcome, Commissioner Osborne, to the panel. Marine Patrol had a very compliant month in June, being that is the last month of the fiscal year. We were at 27, there was 2,700 checks, or 2,700 trips for tails and scales, 9.8% on checks. So we're at right at above 5, well, almost 10%. That's where we want to be. 7 citations. So we were at 98% compliance. So at the end of the day, that's what we strive for. Okay.
Real quick on that. And NOAA won't acknowledge that we have the best in America for that. And whenever you get that about how are we checked, look at that. 98% compliance. There's no other state anywhere close.
That's exactly right. Year to date on total checks, we checked 2,484 individuals in June. That puts us year to date, 2023 at 21,606. That's 8,000 more checks than last year. So, your Marine Patrol officers are they're busting their butts. Okay. We had 7 assists for the year. Marine Patrol assists for other agencies. Other than that, I'm sorry, I digress. We had 3 tails and scales for violations for June. So, once again, everybody is playing well. That's about it, folks. If you have any questions, please, I'll entertain them.
I do have one thing that was sent to me the other day from a mayor, and about a help that y'all did, and around the July the 4th time frame or 5th, and where you helped rescue some people out in a boat, and they were out of Petal, Mississippi, and they sent a nice note back to tell everyone thank you about what had happened, but because of our Marine Patrol saved their lives, and I want to, and they did mention Captain Strickland and Officer Strickland also, and Jada, and so I appreciate that, Jada Whittington. So just tell them all we thank you very much, and y'all did a great job, and it's not left unknown that people are looking at it every day.
Well, that, we don't do it for accolades. That's our job, but it doesn't go a long way when we get a pat on the back. Thank you.
Y'all are doing a fine job of it.
Thank you.
Anything else? We appreciate it, Chief. Thank you. All right. We'll move on to resources management. G1A has been removed, so let's talk about Cat Island.
Oh, I'm
I'm sorry, I thought the light was on. Beneficial use of dredge material program is the applicant. It's on the southeastern side of Cat Island in the Sound. It's in a general use district. And the agent is Anchor QEA, Renee Robertson. So got quite a bit of impacts here. The fill is for a total of 660 acres of unvegetated water bottoms. They'll create marsh habitat, dune habitat, and submerged berm habitat. If you add those up, they do equal more than 660 acres, and that's because of that berm habitat being at an angle, going upwards the sides of the berm. So it actually is bigger in the number of acres than it would be if it laid flat. To create those berms, they'll be dredging 13.1 million cubic yards from the Corps' disposal site, which is located on the eastern side of the Gulfport Federal Navigation Channel. That'll create the 25,000 linear feet of containment berms. They'll also create sediment berms with dredged material. So that's material that would be dredged anyway by maintenance dredging projects locally. Will be used to create the rest of the habitat in the area. The berm crest, maximum height will be 8 feet below mean lower, 8 feet mean lower, low water. And then the berm crest width will be 300 feet and the base width will be a maximum of 1,100 feet. There'll actually be 2 phases. One phase will be 900 feet maximum base width, and the second will be 1,100 feet. They will construct marsh with dredged material, and the final elevations are expected to range from minus 0.5 to 3 feet mean lower low water. And this is a picture of the overall site of Cat Island. And then we have a close-up picture with the actual diagram of the project, showing the footprint with both phases built out. And then this is a much closer view. This would be the berm for the first phase, and then the second phase would come further to the southwest here. These are side views of the different areas of the berms and the maximum heights and widths. They have asked for a variance to the Mississippi Coastal Program for the regulation that states that permanent filling of coastal wetlands below the mean high tide line because of potential adverse and cumulative environmental impacts is not authorized. They've justified this by stating that the impacts on coastal wetlands would be no worse than if the requirements were followed, and that's because ultimately this is a restoration project. It is a environmental benefit overall to create habitat that's been lost. Public notice appeared in the Sun Herald and on our website as required. DEQ issued a 401 water quality certification on July 5th of 2023. Department of Archives and History had no comments. The Secretary of State's office had no objections, and Wildlife Fisheries and Parks had no comments. So based on our review and the findings on the decision factors in the coastal program, we've determined that the project is consistent with the coastal program because it serves a higher public purpose with restoration of the 660 acres on the southeastern tip of Cat Island and by providing a beneficial use site in the western Mississippi Sound where it is needed. Staff requests a motion that the commission recommend to the executive director to approve the requested variance and approve the permit as requested. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
What's the duration of this project anticipated?
I actually don't know. We give a 10-year permit and it can have up to 2 years extension on that. I think the filling in of the area with dredge material will depend on how quickly people are doing maintenance dredging projects. So I think they want to get the berms built first, the phase 1 berms built as quickly as possible, and then they would fill those in as dredging projects make dredge material available.
So it could be ongoing for quite some
It
time.
could
is
be.
what it sounds like.
Where's the tidal flow coming from in that pool?
They actually, when they finish putting in the material that'll become the marsh, they'll actually either let those berms naturally breach, or if they don't naturally breach, what they usually do is go in and breach them in strategic areas.
Where's the funding come?
It's all I know is it's Deepwater Horizon funds. I don't know which actual
Restore
specific
fund,
funds
right?
it comes from.
As a restore NIFWIF. I think it is. I think it's part of one of their restore funds.
Yeah, the funding is coming through Department of Environmental Quality to the agency. They're actually, DMR will manage the site because we have the beneficial use program and we will hold the permit, but all of the engineering, design, and funding is coming through Department of Environmental Quality with Deepwater Horizon funds. And I believe the director is correct that it is Restore.
I love seeing projects like this. 12 years now I've spent on the water professionally and watching habitat loss every single year. So whenever we're able to put something back, it's a massive win for everybody, even the people that don't even realize how big of a win it is for them. This is great for Mississippi.
Put the slide back up. It showed the map of it, of the area that you're going to do. That one. Yeah, if you look at it, is that southern part of it? Is that the part that we're talking about working with Park Service to them to swap some land with us? Is that part of that?
So as far as I know, the discussions between the National Park Service and the Secretary of State's office are ongoing, but it is not something that's moving very quickly. So this project is being designed so that it does not actually touch the Park Service property above the water line. So there will be an area where it can naturally fill in, but it will not, there's not an actual connection above.
Was that southern tip? Is that part of that Park Service?
Yes, sir. The Park Service does have property.
That's the second phase
You can,
anyway, right?
you can see on it says right here, MPS property.
Yeah.
So this indicates the location of the Park Service property. And then the state boundary is this dotted line here. And then the Corps of Engineers 2017 Cat Island template. So that's all been taken into account in the engineering and design of the project. This is a 30% design, which is all that is required for the permitting. And as we continue to move on in the process, and if the project is approved, final design could take into account changes that may take place.
Yeah, I'm sure the Corps doesn't have a problem with us doing it anyway,
No, sir, they do not.
and being able to be that, and neither would Park Service. And we're also working at another area over to the west side off of Pelican Key, right?
Yes, sir.
And so both of those are going to be dredge areas that we can be able to put dredge for whenever they do the port.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll be able to salvage all that from whenever they dredge the port out, or also the channels.
Yes, sir. And we're going to be utilizing 13.1 million cubic yards of material that is currently in the Corps' disposal site, as Willis said, to the east side of the Gulfport Ship Channel. So that will free up some more capacity for the Corps dredging projects as well.
And just to point out that any of those changes in design as they go along, this is the maximum footprint. So any of that would be within this footprint. It might get smaller, the berms might get shorter, narrower, but they won't go outside of this footprint.
Where's the bottom line of the Park Service boundary?
Is it right above? Is it that?
I believe it's right.
We got any more questions? I would like to make the motion. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. We have 2 public comments that have come in. The people were unable to be here today, but they've asked that they be read into the record.
Yes, sir. The first one is from Mr. George Body, sent to Jennifer Whitman, Karen Newman, and with the Corps of Engineers, and Jared Harris. It says, Jennifer and Jared, I want to compliment and thank the DMR for pursuing these proactive dredging and beneficial use project proposals for Cat Island. There has always been incredible burden and opportunity for Cat Island because it is located downdrift and adjacent to the Gulfport Ship Channel. This proposed project will increase the footprint of Cat Island, bringing it closer to the historical pre-Camille size and sustain the long-term integrity, habitat, and storm protection it provides to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. The Mobile District's last restoration project has truly turned out to be a great benefit to Cat Island and to our Gulf Coast. The dunes that have developed as a result of the sand fencing and plantings have probably exceeded everyone's expectations in enhancing the island's habitat. I have 2 observations that I ask the DMR and the Corps to consider as part of this application. The 2 weakest sections of the beach are at the base of North Point, 30.230371, 89.07152, and the easternmost end of South Bayou, 30.220037, 89.079030. These areas have historically breached, first in 1998 and again in Katrina. The North Point location actually experiences a tidal funneling effect where the east-west island ridge intersects the southern base of North Point. This area also has tidal marsh ponds that extend eastward to the back of the beach platform. Breaches have occurred when tidal surge rapidly retreats gulfward after passage of a storm eye. Extending the north end of the disposal area, CP1, approximately 1,200 feet to the north would strengthen this weak section. I would also suggest a more gradual transition into the existing beach. My other suggestion is to include sand fencing component and possibly some plantings to the dunes and platform. Thank you for your work on Cat Island. In consideration of these suggestions, please let me know if any additional information is needed. George R. Body, P.E. And the second email that was sent is from Mr. Mitch Tinsley, address 8818 OIO Place, Diamond Head, Mississippi. This email was just sent to me. Good morning, Mississippi Advisory on Commission on Marine Resources. I apologize for my inability to personally attend this meeting, but appreciate the opportunity to provide comments. First, I would like to state that I think the proposed Cat Island Beneficial Use Site project has incredible potential and is much needed to restore and protect one of our state's great resources. However, I would like to put on record a few concerns and suggestions. According to the information provided in the public notice dated March 6, 2023, it is expected that pioneer plant species will be naturally recruited within the marsh and possibly the dune areas. The project appears to rely solely on natural recruitment without employing additional methods like vegetative planting, watering, or fertilizing to promote seed germination and ensure plant survival. Without the implementation of suitable cultivation practices, the establishment of healthy plant communities in the newly created dune zones would be highly unlikely, if not impossible. The location of the proposed restoration leaves many acres of dunes which are notably separated and distanced from other existing dune vegetation. Additionally, there's also no mention of sand fencing included in the project, which is another immediate tool and means to stabilize newly constructed sand dune environments. Sand fencing is very effective when installed in high wind environments and will trap windblown sand from being displaced from the project area. I believe the project should include the installation of notable pioneer dune species within the constructed dunes and marshes from local seed and plant stock currently growing in Harrison County and more specifically originating from Cat Island, including suitable pioneer community in the project. Including suitable pioneer community in the project will play a crucial role in stabilizing the dredged material, preventing erosion, accumulating additional materials, and creating habitats for critical animal species. Mr. Tinsley has also included 3 documents with his comments. One is Restoring and Managing Coastal Dune Vegetation, which is a publication of the North Carolina State Extension Service. Coastal Dunes, which was a publication of the Texas General Land Office, and Sand Dunes, Vegetation Could Improve Sustainable Infrastructure, which was from Texas A&M Today. And again, those were comments from Mr. Mitch Tinsley. And I've given these to the court reporter to be added to the official record.
All right, do we have any questions on the comments? I guess, sorry. Go
If
ahead.
it's at a 30% design as we sit now, will the, as it gets further along in the design process, will the actual, projects individually come in front of the commissioners, the advisory panel, or?
I don't believe so. Willa?
Not typically. We and the Corps have kind of learned over the years of permitting these beneficial use projects that we have to build adaptive management into the projects. So we present them as the largest footprint, the amount of fill that will take place, and the type of restoration that will take place. And then that allows them to make some moves as they get the final design done. They can, as long as they don't go outside of this footprint, incorporate those dune fences and plantings as needed to make sure the habitat becomes what they need it to be.
Understood. Thank you.
So is the 30% completion part of it, is that why we don't currently have any type of fencing or vegetation in the plan?
I'm assuming so, correct. They don't have those tiny, every little detail planned out. They just have the footprint.
Okay.
So if the DMR staff finds any of this useful at all, it can be incorporated to the project on the remaining 70%.
Yes, sir.
Any more? I'll make the motion to approve the staff's recommendations. Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see. Nothing. Finance and Administration, Ms. Brewer?
Good morning, everyone. I'll be presenting the financials for the end of the year, June 30th, 2023. At the end of the year, we have 6.1 million of state revenue. Our agency revenue is at 66.9 million. Our state net income is negative 1.8 million. Our agency net income is 30.2 million. We're showing a state deficit, but we don't get our appropriations until usually around September, so it will never be reflected. And we're ending the year with operating funds of 78.2% of our budget, and then our Tidelands has 22.9% left. Any questions?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to Public Affairs. Ms. Charmaine?
Good morning, Commissioners, Director Spraggins, Legal. Welcome, Commissioner Osborne. The Mississippi Department of Marine Resources was mentioned 14 times in local, state, and national media since the June MACMR meeting. News items included Go Mesa projects announced by Governor Reeves, legislative changes with derelict vessels beginning. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I printed the wrong report. This is last year. Could I come back up later?
That's okay.
Okay.
Absolutely. All right, we'll move on to marine fisheries. We got a whole lot of state records to talk about here today. And Rhodey Arms is not on a single one of them.
I think a couple of his records got broken, so I'm sure he's gonna be coming back after him. All right, so we've got 2 conventional records. The first one is a white bone porgy. We don't see many of these. The old record was 2 pounds 5 ounces. The new record is 2 pounds 8.8 ounces, and the angler is Connie Boykin. It's a picture of the fish. The picture of the angler with the fish. Next one's a yellowtail snapper, also one we don't see here very often, usually in South Florida. The old record was 7 pounds, 3.52 ounces. The new record is 7 pounds, 9.6 ounces. And the angler is Mr. Gavin Friend. It's a picture of the fish, picture of Gavin with the fish. And then we have a whole host of youth conventional tackle records. We got some impressive ones on this one. So the red snapper record finally got broken. The old record was 19 pounds, 1.0 ounces. The new record is 20 pounds, 1.6 ounces by angler Peyton Morgan. It's a picture of the fish. There's a picture of Peyton with the fish.
Nice.
Rock Hind. It's a new record altogether. That was 2 pounds, 6.4 ounces by Mr. Finn Lips. And with a name like that, you can imagine he's probably going to have a few more records in the future. There's the fish. There's Finn with the fish. Spanish mackerel. It's a new record as well. 4 pounds, 6.4 ounces by angler Ryan Ross. There's a picture of the fish. And there's a picture of Ryan with the fish. And then that's a little typo there, but it's a Jack Raval. Should be an E. The old record was 25 pounds, 6.4 ounces. That was Rhodey's record. The new record is 30 pounds, 9.0 ounces, which will be tough to beat. The angler is Maddox Faucha. Here's a picture of the fish. Here's a picture of Maddox with the fish. This one was from the fishing rodeo on the 4th. So all we need is a motion to recommend the adoption of the new state records.
We have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Commissioner Roberts.
And welcome, Commissioner Osborne. Sorry about that.
Great. All right. So all right. Other business.
We got a couple of things. Number one is Go Mesa. If you want to put in for your FY24 funds, we would like to have them in by the end of this month, the 31st of July, and we have funds to be able to do that this year, and we'd like for you to be able to put in, and we'll be doing a selection on quite a bit of that money probably in the next few weeks after that. So if you can, go ahead and get your FY24 Go Mesa funds in. We'd appreciate it. The other thing is we'd like to talk about, we talked about the on bottom fishing for the oysters, and I'd like to add that to this and at this time and ask Jason to come up and give you a briefing on it.
Good morning, commissioners. Karen, do you mind switching it? This morning, I'm going to go over the website we worked with in-house to draft to give information to applicants for the on-bottom leasing process. So as y'all know, as y'all are well aware, the last 2 months we have developed regulations internally to match the Senate Bill 2544. And with those, we have developed a leasing process and an application for anyone that's interested to lease on-bottom acreage in Mississippi. This is not the way it's been done historically, so we wanted to get a quick web page up and running so we can answer most questions and people become educated and then apply appropriately. So as you see, this web page will be, and if y'all have any questions at any point, please stop and ask, but I'll just give a brief overview. This webpage will be on the DMR website, and you can gather any information related to this project in this section here with the Senate Bill 2544. The official RFP is what we're actually going to call it. So anyone that wants to apply for leases will complete a request for proposals, and this is the official document that they can review. and learn information. Also, they can see the updated Title 22 Part 1 that we have will officially go into place this week. It'll go into effect, I believe, on Thursday. These are all the changes that y'all have approved and y'all are aware of over the last 2 months. And then finally, we do have our permit. This is our permit that we have with the Corps of Engineers, and it shows all the permitted area along the Mississippi Gulf Coast that will be available for this project or for these leases. We have some programmatic information at the top, and then we'll get into exactly what people need to know. These are the conditions and the requirements of what will be required of the applicants while they have these leases. The conditions are listed here. The property classifications, I'll go into this in a second, but this does identify the areas of Mississippi Sound and how essentially we have rated them for leasing, for private leasing. Cultivation and propagation requirements are listed here. Reporting, terminations and waivers, and then subleases. At that point, that gives a pretty good understanding of all the requirements that the applicants will be expected to abide by and follow. And then they get into where exactly if they want to lease an area. So someone has an idea of where they want to lease an area in the Sound, but they don't know the coordinates on that. They can click this map right here, and in the top left-hand corner that you do have this layers tab. This is a GIS map. We have a lot of information in this map, and we do expect to have a good amount of dialogue with the applicants regarding this, and we're more than happy to help. But as you can see, this is the Western Mississippi Sound, and you can toggle in between all these layers. This is the harvest zones, riparian rights, historic footprints, property classifications. That's the ranking system that we've come up with. And then if state-owned reefs, that's the areas that the state is not leasing out for private harvesting. So if you're interested in a spot in the Mississippi, in the Sound, and you want to identify the coordinates are listed down here in the bottom right-hand corner, but you can also draw a box. And what this allows you to do is pinpoint an area, exactly what you want to, where you want to submit your lease application and gather those coordinates with that. We do have a tutorial on the website that will show you how to do this, but you can draw a box and click the coordinates on that, and that gives you the coordinates of that area. And then if you hover over the corners, it will also give you the coordinates. So this is a pretty good tool, and I really appreciate Karen with our IT helping develop that. And then also on the right-hand side, these are the map layers. It will explain the layers and what's associated with each. So back to the web page. After you've determined where you want to apply and you understand the conditions and requirements of the lease, now you're ready to apply. You have two methods to apply. You can do it, you can click this, and this is a PDF form. You can fill it out on your computer, or you can complete it and bring it to the office. We're asking that all applicants complete this, bring it to the licensing desk on the first floor, and there will be a $50 application fee associated with all applications. So please, if you are submitting this in person, you will have to bring your check or cash. If you don't want to print it out and you'd like to do it online, you're more than welcome to do so. And we also have a link where you complete the application online, put in your information, and then you will be prompted to pay at the end, or submit your credit card information at the end. We are expected to go live with this application process on July 14th, which is this Friday, and we will close. I'm sorry, I apologize. The 21st is this Friday, and then we'll close, I believe it's August 4th of the first week of August. So if anyone has any questions, please let me know at this time, and I'll be happy to answer them.
And Commissioners, that's with your approval. We would like to have your approval to say that that it's okay with y'all. We went through the public comments, we went through everything else, and we'd like to go live on the 21st, which we could possibly do.
Do y'all have any questions? Yeah, it looks great, and hopefully we can get our oyster men actually doing something. They need it. I'm happy to make the motion to give approval if we have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you all very much. And I do want to take a minute and just put a thank you to Brian and our IT department, and Karen and John, and then also our procurement department. Everyone helped out tremendously with this website, and it was very easy to work with. So thank you.
Looks good. Miss Charmaine, you ready?
As for that.
That's
All
fine.
right. Mississippi Department of Marine Resources had 14 media mentions since the June MACMR meeting. News items included the small fire that occurred on Deer Island on July 4th, fish records, and the Office of Marine Fisheries Triple Tail Tagging Project. The Office of Marine Patrol took part in the summer reading program at Orange Grove Public Library on June 22nd, the Stay Safe and Play event at Point Cadet on June 25th, a CCA meeting in Bay St. Louis on July 6th, and the Biloxi Explorer Academy on July 11th. The Office of Coastal Resources Management's Jenny Stout, Laura Moncrief, and Chaz Newman took part in Camp Day at the Shuckers game on June 21st. They handed out MDMR coloring books and other items to campers and attendees. Madison Parker gave her second presentation this summer at the Humane Society of South Mississippi on July 11th, where she discussed crab traps with terrapin excluder devices, a model shrimp trawl with a turtle excluder device to show how Gulf of Mexico shrimpers protect sea turtles, and monofilament recycling tubes found along the coast to protect marine life from being lost to abandoned fishing line. Class 1 and 2 of the 2023-24 Off-Bottom Oyster Aquaculture Training Program was held June 17th and July 8th. The first class was held here in the auditorium, had 18 participants, and gave an overview of oyster aquaculture, biology, growing areas, and business planning, among other topics. The second class had 19 participants and was held at USM's Thad Cochran Marine Aquaculture Center. Shellfish Bureau staff began class by discussing oyster aquaculture gear, biofouling control methods, and storm preparation. USM's oyster hatchery manager followed with a presentation on hatchery basics and a tour of their shellfish hatchery. The class concluded with a demonstration on tying knots and constructing off-bottom grow bags and anchor lines, and participants were able to practice the techniques using the various aquaculture gear. And then the Mississippi Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo was held July 1st through the 4th, and the agency was on hand each day at the fishing rodeo, distributing our rules and regulations publications, fish ruler stickers, fish posters, and other informational pieces to the public.
And one other thing too, the Mississippi Seafood will be the title sponsor this year for Cruising the Coast.
Wow.
And so we'll be the title sponsor for Cruising the Coast to let 30,000 people that have, just from the cars.
10,000.
Huh?
10,000 registrants.
No, 30,000 is what they say come in from
Oh,
the
yeah,
cars.
yeah. Way more than that.
And then a total of 100,000 people. So what better way for us to get the Mississippi Seafood out? And we're going to have, be able to meet every one of them as they come in and give them seafood, Mississippi seafood, fresh seafood that's boiled shrimp or whatever, right there as they come and register. And then also we're going to have booths set up to different places during the time while Cruising the Coast. So Charmaine and them are going to be heading that up for us.
Thank you, Charmaine. All right, so we got a few public comments. I'm gonna bring these up how they were turned into us. First up is gonna be Mr. Ron Sheldon. Come on up, Mr. Sheldon. If you don't mind, please state your name for them.
Good morning. My name is Ron Sheldon. I'm a lifelong resident of Pascagoula. Ever since I was a little kid, a recreational fisherman, and I do have some concerns that I'd like to bring before the commission today. One, and this is not going to be news to anyone in this room, but mainly what I target when I fish is speckled trout. I like using artificials, and the speckled trout numbers are steadily declining drastically over the last few years. And my friends, I have a lot of friends that fish for trout, and the current quota I believe is 15 fish. There is no limitation on slot size. And I really wish, and my friends, a lot of my friends wish there were, especially during spawning season. There's a lot of people that go out and hit those trout hard, day in, day out. They go out and get their limit of, some people I know where you got 4 fishermen in the boat are getting 60 fish, out around Horn Island, Petty Boy. and they're all what I consider quite large fish. You know, they're all in the 20-inch and above range. I applaud the regulations that we have on redfish, the slot size we have there. I really wish the commission would consider something like that for speckled trout. To me, the ideal slot size for eating is around somewhere between 16 to 19 inches, you know, and when you start keeping, you know, a sow that's full of roe that is 25 inches long, you know, just, I think it's kind of self-defeating. And it's not just the summertime when they're spawning, it's the wintertime as well. I fish up in Ann Harbor and around the west side of the West Bank out on that oyster reef, and nobody is catching the number of fish than what we were in previous years. And I am concerned. I know a lot of it was because of Bonnie Carey Spillway opening in 2019. It hit everybody hard. I will tell you this, I fish a lot out at Round Island. I'm out there, I'd be out there this morning at slick as glass if I wasn't here. When they opened up Bonnie Carey Spillway, they didn't keep it open as long or for duration as what they did in 2019. But what was bad news for western part of Mississippi was good news for me, because I saw it time and time again when they'd open up the spillway in years previous. I would catch more trout on Round Island than we ever would in the other years. And my theory was that fresh water was pushing them further east. But it's something I do wish the commission would consider. You know, 15 fish, you know, you can feed a lot of people with 15 fish. You know, 6 fish will feed a family of 2. And, you know, I'm not against commercial fishermen. I support commercial fishermen. I think it's a good thing. A lot of my friends blame it on the commercial fishermen, and I don't think that's it at all. And when you have a group of people going out catching that many fish that are full of roe day in, day out, it hammers them. So that's something I'd like to talk about there, or comments.
Thank you, Ms. Sheldon. Anybody have any questions? We appreciate your comments, sir.
Okay.
Thank
One more
you.
comment, and that's really what I'm here for more than the rest. It's interesting that y'all are speaking about the restoration of Cat Island. One thing I have a lot of concern about, and that is the erosion of Round Island. And I think this past March, y'all completed the transfer of that last little piece of property the city of Pascagoula owned. So now it is open to y'all, as I understand, to go ahead and do your restoration work that y'all have planned for Round Island. My question to you is today, Round Island, especially over the last 3 or 4 years, especially the west side of it, Hurricane Zeta hammered the west side of Round Island. 100-year-old live oak trees that have been there ever since I was a kid, and I've been going out there longer than I care to admit here this morning, you know, fell off. They're gone. You know, they're laying, you know, it's eroding away the west side of Round Island. I know there are plans from, I think, Jennifer, I've spoke to you in the past on the telephone. It's a pleasure to meet you in person this morning, to restore the island. But what I'd like to know, what are the plans? Is there funding being allocated? Are there permits being sought after? So that's where I'm at this morning. I don't think Round Island has much longer. We get another storm with strong winds like Zeta hit, coming out of the west and the southwest. Round Island is disappearing in a hurry.
Okay.
So,
yeah, we're working with DEQ on it, and DEQ is in the process right now of finalizing the purchase of that other part. You know, but the area that Pascagoula owns, being able to get it and be able to utilize it, and we're working on it. And Jennifer stand up, so she's got something to say on it. So go ahead.
We cannot actually purchase the property that Pascagoula owns at Round
They gonna
Island.
give it to us?
We have a management agreement that has been signed with them to allow the state to manage invasive species on the property. I believe they've also entered into a boundary agreement with the Secretary of State's office so that restoration could take place. It had to do with the funding source that was used when Round Island was originally purchased by the city. It wasn't something that was transferable, but we've worked through that with their legal staff. DEQ has been really instrumental in that, and again, the Secretary of State's office. And so there are some plans that are, you know, starting to move forward for additional restoration out at historic Round Island and the newly created beneficial use island.
Yeah, I know that they're looking at it. I've talked to Chris about it several times, and they're looking at what we're doing, and Covington's looking at it also. They manage that for DEQ, and they're looking at the area there where we're at and the berms and how they're holding we have rebuilt a lot of Round Island. And, quite a bit of it's been rebuilt over the year with the dredge. And that they brought in beneficial use and other stuff. And they put some berm areas out for that. So it is getting built some. I'm not sure where
When you say rebuilding Round Island, are you talking about the original footprint of Round Island, or are you talking about what I call the Round Island Annex that was built to the north and the northwest?
Jennifer's standing behind you here.
Yeah. Maybe you and I can just meet up.
So we have not done any work on historic Round Island yet. Now that we did have an acquisition about 2 years ago for one portion that was privately owned, and then again we have the boundary agreement and the management agreement with the city of Pascagoula for the other portion. So there are some preliminary discussions to go ahead and increase beneficial use in the area to be able to restore the historic portions of Round Island and to help supplement some of the newly created Round Island beneficial use site.
Okay. Sounds like she's got all your answers.
And when we do move forward, those projects will obviously go out on public notice for any public comment, and it would be a similar situation to the Cat Island project where it would be presented to the advisory commission at a 30% design, and we could take comments through the permitting process, and then again at the meeting when it's presented.
What was the area that George worked on so much?
That is the
That's
Round
what he-
Island Annex.
Yeah,
So
annex,
we call it the
okay.
Round Island beneficial
I
use
knew there
site.
was a lot of stuff done in that area.
Yes, sir. And
Okay.
it's adjacent to the historic Round Island.
Yeah.
We couldn't include historic Round Island originally because it was privately held, and then there was a portion that was held by the
Alright.
city. But we've addressed those. Hate to say issue, that sounds bad, but we've addressed those concerns, and are in a position where we can start to move forward.
All right. We appreciate you, Mr. Sheldon. Commissioner Roberts and I'll take the coordinates where those 25-inch trout are coming from so we can keep an eye on that for you. So feel free to reach out to us. Yeah, there we go. All right, next up is Mr. Tommy Elkins with CCA.
So Tommy Elkins, I'm here, chairman of CCA Mississippi, and just as our organization has finally gotten a chance to rebuild and get back on our feet after the pandemic, we're happy to see the commission actually rebuilding. We wanted to recommend or commend Mr. Osborne on his position, to thank this commission for the work they're doing, to really thank General Spraggins, DMR, Chief Wilkerson. You guys are just knocking this thing right out of the park, and everyone that I talk to in the recreational business is very happy with what job you guys are doing. So we just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank y'all.
Thank you, Tommy. It's always good to hear praise. Next up is going to be Mr. Johnny Marquez. I think he's got some questions on the Cat Island project, or comments on the Cat Island project.
Thank you. Johnny Marquez I'm the Director of Coastal Policy and Programs for the Mississippi Wildlife Federation. And I just wanted to give a couple of comments on the Cat Island project. First off, I'm very glad to see the project taking place. Commend the department for pursuing that. But I did want to, particularly since it's a 30% design right now, and there will continue to be work being done on that, to emphasize a concern, which is that the siltation that can occur from that. So making sure that there are adequate berms, agreeing with Ms. Tinsley's comments about dune fencing, vegetation planting, and you can just look at some of the other restoration projects that have taken place on the coast. So for example, Ship Island, although it may not have been an intended benefit, initially when it was filled in, it created a great lagoon. It was a great fishing spot. It's probably 6-7 feet deep. But, it took some time to get the planning going for that to get established. And that's a high energy area. So over time that silted in, it became shallow, and that was kind of lost. Now that was maybe something that was created by the project that wasn't intended. But another example would be some restoration work that just took place on Breton Island, which the focus was birds out there. And that did have an unintended consequence where it silted in on the east side, where there was kind of a deep harbor and channel there. It was a great fishing spot, place for fish to take shelter in a little cooler, deeper water in the summer. And although I haven't been there, my understanding from fishermen is that that has largely silted in. Is
West
that,
side, I believe. I think it's
I'm
the
sorry,
west
the west
of it,
side.
yeah.
You're correct. On the west side at Breton. And so, you know, on Goose Point, where this restoration is taking place, you've got, you know, all of Smuggler's Cove, that's a nice deep area. You've got grass beds all in there. You've got Good Scotch Point full of grass. And so I think, you know, the highest priority is making sure that that sediment stays there where it's being placed. And so whatever measures can be taken to ensure that are, you know, important to look at in that completion of the design phase. So, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for the comments on that. I think that's all of them. All right. We don't have anything else. We will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Thank you, folks.